Right, I think we're both recording now. So this is the first time for me. I'm sure many of you will know the amazing Lucy Davis from the UK, but on my channel, this is the first time I've had the pleasure to speak to you, Lucy, and I've been following your work for a long while. I first came across you right back at the start of this issue that's been going on. We'll be careful with our words because it's going on YouTube. When I saw you talking to Charlie about how passionate you were about the work that you do with children, etc. But then I've discovered, since getting to know you more and looking at your websites and following your Instagram, which is amazing, everyone needs to go to Lucy's Instagram, all the links will be below. I realized there was so much more to you than even I thought initially, in terms of the work that you do with the Self-Love Club, getting people into that from, you know, head heart coherence. I mean, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because there's so much that you do, which is why I really wanted to get you on today and have one of our nice girly chats so that people can see what is possible.
Yeah, beautiful. So first and foremost, thank you for inviting me on. When Andrea reached out to me, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that would be amazing. Because I feel very connected to you because of our passion for animals and passion for the land, and, you know, just generally bringing the environment, the natural environment back online. And so I was extremely excited to speak to you, as I explained to you yesterday. But for those of you that don't know me, obviously my name is Lucy Davis. I'm based here in the UK now. Until 2019, I was split really between Sydney, Australia, and Surrey in the UK. But obviously lockdown meant that I was forced over here, and actually it's ended up being a really beautiful thing. So I used to work on the trading floor. Back in the day, I used to work on the trading floor for investment banks. I quit there in the first time in 2014 because I suffered burnout. And then I had to take 14 months off work and get myself back in alignment. And I went on a really huge self-healing journey. And then I came back and I went back to work at the end of 2015. And I actually eventually quit in 2017. And I've been doing what I do now. First and foremost, I was working with people with nutrition. I was working with iridology, which is what we spoke about yesterday, which is a really beautiful connection between us. And since then, my spiritual gifts have come online, and I intuitively help people basically establish their emotional trauma and go through the healing process to release that from their physical vessel. So huge journey from completely in the matrix, you know, and attached to all of the material things and, you know, everything that goes along with that, to somebody who's just free as a bird now.
Oh my God, it's just so inspiring to hear, Lucy, because I think so many people can identify with being caught in the matrix. And it's what I read, there's so many things I want to discuss with you today, so I'm sure this will be first of many, but I think based on inquiries that have come through to me and things that I see people talking about, comments, emails I get, I think for some people it's really, I mean, I escaped the matrix as well, and I have never looked back from it, never regretted it for 1 second. But should we have a little chat before we get digging into some of the sort of more heart coherent stuff and the nature, which is such a connection of ours? There's a lot of people watching this that are having to make massive life decisions at the moment. Either they're making them, or they might feel or perceive that other people might be making them for them, all over the world. And what are some of the things, the lessons you've learned and the tips you could give to people about if you're faced with that decision and it looks like your whole world's being turned upside down, how to get through it, and not only just how to get through it, but how to really thrive from that experience?
Yeah, love that question. Absolutely love it. So first and foremost, and this is a real challenge for people, is to recognize that actually whatever is happening in your life is serving you, rather than what is very natural for us in the three-dimensional paradigm to step into a victim mode. So I call it victim mode. People would call it, you know, suffering or something like that. But for me, I'm quite brutal with my language because I know it helps people snap through very quickly and drop into their heart space. So if you find yourself like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? Why is this taking place? Like, why am I being bullied? Just stop and take a breath. Like, literally all you need to do is just pop your hand on your heart or your fingertips. If you're walking down a road and you step into that, literally just pop your fingertips. It looks a bit weird if you walk along like this. People would be like, what is she doing? Just pop your fingertips on your heart and just allow yourself to recognize that there is something working through you. There is something that is keeping you alive every single day without you having to say, right, Catherine, you've got to breathe now. Right, Catherine, you need to tell your heart to pump blood around you now. Right, Catherine, you need to tell your lungs to move and allow the oxygen to come in. So if we can all just get that moment of victim and just connect with our divine heart space, and I was doing this back in the days of corporate, unknowingly what it meant, but I was tapping into that and I felt like I could get through anything. And I'm sure there's a number of your followers that will be feeling the same. They will be feeling like, as tough as this is, and as much as I'm switching into those modes, I know I can get through this. And that's what we need to keep remembering. We are, every single person that follows Catherine, that follows myself, that follows anybody that talks about the kind of stuff that we do, please know you are a huge piece of this puzzle.
Yeah.
Your piece is extremely vital. It's extremely important for the overall piece. If you decide to disappear, if you decide to do something that goes against your values, please know there's going to be a hole in that puzzle. And we all know what that's like, whether you've got children or nieces or nephews or whatever, you know when a piece of the puzzle is missing, like it's really infuriating. So what we need to be doing right now is just remembering we all agreed to come down here. We all agreed to this. Now, when I was going through burnout in 2013, 2014, what I mean by burnout is my physical body just stopped working. My hair was falling out. I had chronic digestive issues. I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. There was tumors in the womb. Like all of this stuff was going on. My physical vessel was just stopping. And the reason, since obviously I've done the work on this, the reason that is you could be the healthiest person on the planet. You could be eating the right foods. You could be getting everything organic. And unless you are recognizing that your body is not in alignment, i.e. your spirit is not in alignment, or your emotions are not in alignment, or your physical is not in alignment, the divine or God or whatever you want to call it is going to keep knocking you until you recognize that you are out of alignment somewhere. So in 2013, 2014, when I went through this burnout, I was in victim mode. Why is this happening to me? I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be like, and of course, what happens with that, it compacts it. You tell the universe you're not going to be able to do something, the universe will go, okay, I'll help you deliver that. So it's very important that we first and foremost recognize where we are becoming a victim, where we are stepping into that mode, connect with our heart space. Like Catherine and I do, get out into nature, breathe. Yeah. Like Mother Nature has the answers to everything for us. Now, I'm not saying that you won't step into that victim mode. Even I've spent a lot of time in monasteries actually over the last few years, and even they at times get knocked off of their perch, for want of better words, and they go, oh wow, and they find themselves maybe getting annoyed at something or whatever. They're living the human existence. So please do remember that we're not asking you to be a mute of your emotions, where what I do is I basically say to people, like, recognize them.
Yeah.
Gain the consciousness on it, like really see it coming in, know what it feels like to you, and then we can start to create a path as to how we deal with that and how we step through that. And nature is a really beautiful way of doing that. You can frig your body very, very quickly by getting out into nature, but it's all good and well knowing how to resolve it. But unless you can catch it when it's happening, the resolution is kind of a moot point.
Yeah. Oh God, that's such a good point. Fun enough, Andrea and I just getting better at the technical side of things. We're working through technology, which is hysterical because I used to work in technology in one of my many previous lives. And you know, every time we speak, Lucy, we find these other connections. Like when we spoke yesterday, we found that we're both iridologists, and you do it with humans and I do it with animals, and the connection to the soil and the nature and everything. And I had a similar experience. I didn't burn out, but I got to stage, I was always very, very sporty, and I love my gymnastics and my horse riding. And then I got to probably about 40, and I realized my hips were really, really bad. And in my family, it's a bit of a joke because my mum's really into dogs, and she's responsibly bred some Labradors before. And if you breed Labradors, you have to have their hips scored to check, because unfortunately there's a lot of hereditary hip issues with overbreeding. So we always laugh in our family, because my twin sisters had a hip replacement, my mum's had a hip replacement, my dad had a knee replacement. And we say, if we were Labradors, we wouldn't be allowed to breed. Because my twin sister and I, when we had our hips scanned, we've both got really odd hips. I've got very shallow balls and she's got square shaped ones. Anyway, by the by, but I then was in a lot of pain with my hips, and it was affecting my ability to get on and off the horse and to get over gates and things like this. And I was like, oh, I don't like this. So I went down to the doctors, and I would have said I was pretty healthy, because I've always been into natural remedies, herbs, essential oils, healthy eating. So I thought. And cut a very long story short, this is when I really took my nutritional knowledge up to the next level, because the doctor's answer was, at the age of 40, they would just give me on the National Health Service a double hip replacement, because my hips were so bad that they both needed replacing. I was like, well, before I go down that route, one, I can't do that because I've got animals to look after, children to look after, I'm working.
Extreme.
Yeah, a bit extreme. I said, you're not going to ask me about my nutrition and lifestyle, because the rest of me is really healthy, but I've got this inflammation in my joints. So surely if there's inflammation, there's something out of balance. Oh, nutrition's got nothing to do with it. So anyway, I then got really, really into my nutrition, got really up my knowledge about alkalizing your body, got involved with a brilliant company who have brilliant superfoods, because even though I thought I was eating really healthily, obviously stress affects your ability to digest and absorb things, chemicals in our water, environment, EMFs, everything affects it, your gut microbiome. And I'd managed to completely take the hip pain away. Now, don't get me wrong, I can't do the gymnastics that I used to, although I probably would be able to if I took my daughter's advice and stretch like she keeps telling me. So that's just laziness. But all the hip pain went away really quickly. And to this date, touch wood, I still haven't had a hip replacement, and I can do everything I need to. I can't say I can do every yoga posture that I might want to, but I have absolutely no hip pain, I have no knee pain and everything. So I was like, wow, this was so easy to do when I asked the right questions. So yeah, not quite as extreme a story, but it really showed me, even again, we often say, I get it all the time working with animals. Oh, I feed my animal a really healthy diet. Well, okay, let's ask questions and let's see, because if you're getting these issues, the universe always gives you clues about what questions you need to explore in more detail, doesn't it?
Exactly. And I love that. And that's so inspiring. It's so inspiring to hear. So when you were talking, I go down the emotional trauma route.
Yeah.
So okay, right. So, if you think about what your hips do, your hips support you, don't they?
Absolutely.
So depending on which hip it is, as you know, Catherine, the body's split into divine feminine and divine masculine, or feminine masculine energy. So the left-hand side of the body is feminine, the right-hand side of the body is masculine. So for any of your listeners, if you're there going, I've had that hip problem too, do look at where you have felt as if you've lacked support as well. Because the way that I work with people is I look at their nutrition, and I love what you've said, that supplementation is so important. Finding things to help boost what you're already doing from a food perspective, because of all of the things that they're doing. It's so important. A lot of people actually kind of poo-poo supplementation. And it's not an area that we should be ignoring, particularly right now with the times that we're living in. We don't know what's being pumped into our soil, or we do to a point, but we don't know what's being put in the rainwater. We don't know what's being consumed and then being put out. So we do need to be very careful right now. So nutrition is a massive part of it. But if say, for example, you've got or you perceive your nutrition to be on point and you've still got this, just look where you're feeling, or any point in your life you've felt as if you lack support, whether it's from a man or a woman, obviously depending on which side of the body. Because what I've established through my practices, and I know that we align with this, is it's never just one thing. What might work for you won't work for me, and we could have exactly the same problem. But it would never. It's not a one size fits all. And this is what I say to my clients constantly: whoever thought of one size fits all is crazy. You know, like, it just doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Clothes, how can one size fit all? You know, think about it, like, how would that even happen? But it's the same with, you know, writing the prescription from the medical industry, or going to see a nutritionist and them just giving you a bog standard procedure. It just doesn't work. And this is why all of these different modalities, iridology, you know, all of the different things, they come together so beautifully right now. And we are seeing a massive rise, and it's about time.
Oh, I so agree with you. I mean, there's so much in there. I mean, I 100% believe, and have seen through personal experience, that, you know, quantum physics, you can change your physical body instantaneously against all the laws of biology, medicine, and everything. But my view is, why make life difficult for yourself? So, for example, if we take horses, you and I are both passionate about horses. Now, the way most people have been brought up to look after their horses is, quite frankly, not only ludicrous, but really cruel. I get into a lot of trouble for saying this, but like you, I don't mince my words, because I've been studying this for a long while, but also I watch nature a lot. I've spent a huge amount of my life, you know, being out in all parts of the world, just studying what happens with wildlife and nature. And in the wild, a typical horse would eat up to 70 species in a day. And this is just an example. You don't need to be into horses to do this. They'd have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And the first sign that their mind or body was going out of balance, so whether you want to call that physical issues or emotional issues or stress coming into their environment, like a new predator, they would go and seek out medicinal, what we often call weeds, but are herbs or plants, to bring their body back into balance. But when we put them in captivity in little square fields, they can't go and bring their body back into balance because they haven't got access to it. And what's even worse is, quite often you see yards where they've got beautiful hedgerows or trees around the outside, and the horses are fenced off from them. So the horses know that what they need to bring themselves back in balance is just out of reach. And how often do you see people riding their horses? And like, I live on a beautiful heathland, and they won't let their horses eat what's on the heathland because it's rude, because they're being ridden and they're in work mode. And they're like, but the animals know that's what they need to heal themselves. So everything's so complex, and we're like this, you know, we've got these innate abilities as humans, but everything about our modern living, if you're talking about, you know, people living in England, the USA, Australia, I'm not talking about the people that I know who are living in the middle of Zambia. They don't have these issues. They might have different ones, but they don't have these. But, you know, we've been taught not to listen to these instincts, haven't we? And not to listen to the messages that were being given. And therefore, those messages have to get, just like me, when I'm telling my husband to pick his stuff up off the floor, listen, my voice gets louder and louder and louder until he does. That's what the universe does to it, doesn't it? It gets those messages through to us by one way or another.
Yeah, and what I'm really loving at the moment is that people are allowing their intuition to come back online. We've suppressed it. To be fair, we've demonized it, right? Over the years, you know, you look at the witches. How many people say that the witches are really bad? How many people say that, you know, they did really nasty things and they needed to be burnt at the stake? But what if the witches were the healers of their days? You know, what if now we're coming back on and we're getting back in tune with our intuition? And that's why some of the things have had to happen in the last couple of years. You are absolutely spot on. We know exactly what to do. We know exactly what to do. How many of us naturally, when we're sick, or, you know, something happens, like a fever kicks in or something, how many of us naturally just do not want to eat food? Because we know that fasting is the quickest way to get most of those things out of us. You know, and and this is what is coming back online, our ability to recognize what we need without these external influences.
Yeah,
because that's what's happened, right? What happens if you get sick? You go to the man in the white coat. The man in the white coat basically prescribes you this, and we're actually collapsing that down right now. You know, and I'm never going to put the medical industry down. They've saved my life. Literally, they have saved my life on occasion. So, you know, please don't think that I'm saying that. What I'm saying is there is so many things that we do not need to go and see the doctor for, because we've got herbs, we've got spices, we've got things that we can easily access from our lands that can bring us back into alignment. And then we, you know, in my belief system, there will always be a medical industry, but it will be for like your broken bones, or God forbid, if something very serious happens, you go there, rather than this, you know, innate neediness that we've created. And we've got this dependency on it right now.
Oh, I so agree. And I think, I mean, one of my cats is in the emergency vets at the moment, and I work with animal health, but she's got kidney issues that unfortunately are very common in cats, and she had a very bad start to life. Won't go into the details. So I'm really grateful for the vets. But I like, for me, the attitude is I use the medicine, whether it's human medicine or vet, as a stopgap to sort of help, you know, keep you or the animal here, whilst you then work out what the root cause, physical, spiritual, emotional, and make the changes in your lifestyle or your animal's lifestyle to stop the problem hopefully reoccurring again. So these things, you know, I think that's why it's called complementary medicine, because it's meant to complement each other. So sometimes we need an emergency stopgap. I always remember Louise Hay saying, you know, some people, if they've got, for example, cancer, will choose to have some modern intervention, whether it's surgery, whether it's chemo, whether it's radiation. Of course, we all know that's a very controversial subject, but just to give them time to make the lifestyle changes they need to stop them problems coming back again. But we all know that if you just rely on that and don't make the lifestyle changes, then unfortunately the reality is it will come back again, and often with a vengeance. So sort of understanding the impacts of your decision and being gentle with yourself is really important, because we do need that support in all different forms, don't we, at different times?
Yeah, and you know what, I think that that's really important for the times that we've been living in, particularly the last 12, 13 months, since obviously this got released. There's been a lot of people, myself included, when it first came out, I was very judgy. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? But actually, we've had to reach a point of acceptance of everybody can make their own choice. And it's exactly what you were saying with the cancer treatments. Everybody has to make their own choice. Whether it feels right to you or not is completely irrelevant.
Exactly.
It's down to a personal preference, and it's down to a personal choice. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's called intuition.
Yeah.
Your intuition is saying you need to do this until you can find the, you know, whatever the root cause of it is. And to somebody else, it might be no, because if I do that, that's going to take me down a path that I don't align with. That's the most important piece of my work, Catherine, taking people back to who are you?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? What do you like? What do you love? Because I speak to people, before we got locked down, I used to do seminars all over the world. And I would ask people, you know, what is it that you love? And they would give me a big, long list of things that they didn't like. No, tell me what you love. And so many people take a step back and they're like, I don't know.
And it's so culture driven as well, a lot, isn't it? I mean, I heard Nick Alfiar, who's a friend of mine, I love him, and he was on an interview with Alpa, and he found it very easy to say, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at that. Now, I've been brought up to say that's boasting, and I've brought up to say Americans boast and they've got full of ego and things like this. So why do you think, you know, if I went to get one of my cats or dogs here, or guinea pigs or horses or squirrels or rats, and I had this animal in my hands, I could go on forever about all the things I love about them. But if I have to look in the mirror and say about all the things I love for myself, it's far more challenging for myself, a lot of people. And this is such a speciality of the work that you do with people. But why do so many humans find this concept of self-love so triggering?
Well, I'll be honest, I did too. So when I actually channeled the name that my program needed to be called Self-Love Club, I had real resistance, Catherine. Like I kept saying, no, that doesn't sit right with me. It makes me cringe. I don't like it. Like really pushing back. And every single time it was like, you've got to use that. You've got to use that. Now it makes total sense to me. But back then, when I was going through that, a period of resistance, I recognise that we have all been indoctrinated to believe that we're not good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so from birth, we're told if you've got brown hair, oh, but blondes are prettier.
Yes.
If you've got no bottom, oh, we need a nice round bottom. Do you get what I mean? If you think about it, if you've got wrinkles, oh no, nobody wants to see those, especially if you're in the limelight, especially if you're in the public eye. So we've basically been conditioned, we've been primed, we've been groomed, for want of better words, to say, well, I'm not good enough, so I need to colour my hair and I need to get Botox and I need to have my fingernails painted. And I'm not judging any of these things, by the way. This is what's happened. This is the truth. If you're a size 14, you need to be a size 10. If you're a size 6, you need to be a size 12. Do you get what I mean? Literally every element of us. Men, when they're going grey, you know, they need to get rid of it. It's men, when they're going bald, they should, you know, have all these treatments done. Think about it, whichever angle you're coming from and whatever insecurity you have, because that's what it is. They've preyed on our insecurities based on our emotional trauma. So we are now in a world of materialism and, you know, consumerism. Yeah. So we will go and spend all of our hard-earned money on dyeing our hair and buying the right foods. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but we, you know, but I'm just saying we've been manipulated into this circumstance. So of course, you know, I could look at you and be like, oh my God, Catherine is so beautiful. And you could be looking at me going, God, I wish I had that. And this is the indoctrination process that we've been through, when in reality, we're perfect. Because otherwise we'd be different.
Completely. And I see this with my animals. So for example, if I've got Idris, my cat, sitting here, there's not one bit of him that doesn't think he's perfect, but he still goes out and eats mice. And that's a human judgment. He is a cat and he does exactly what a cat should do. And I must say he does it very well. He's agile, he's strong, he's loving, he can get whatever he wants just by the twinkle in his eye. And this is what I find wonderful to just observe. And that's why you and I are so lucky spending so much time with animals. It's laughable, really. You just don't see these judgments in other people. I mean, if you go out and see where a lot of indigenous tribes live, they haven't got clothes on, the women might be topless, they're not sitting there thinking about whether their breasts are saggy or not. They're just like really grateful that they can feed their children. You know, it is, I can laugh about it now, but obviously I still find myself falling into that trap. But talk us through. It is so important, isn't it? Because when you truly accept yourself, warts and all, as we like to say, you don't judge other people in the same way, and you don't slip into that victim mode in the same way, do you, Lucy?
Yeah, you're actually unstoppable. And this is why the gift of God or the divine was always hidden inside of us. And that is the biggest, that's the only journey that we ever got sent here to do, was to remember that love is the only vibration that we can tap into if we want to get through this. Obviously, love is the only thing that we've got. I mean, yes, we can choose to step into fear, but it is a choice.
Yes.
Nobody leaves the mother's womb and comes into this world and goes, God, I hate it here. Like, put me back in, send me back. I mean, we may do, not that we remember that, but more often than not, the baby comes out and it cries and it kind of says, I'm here. And then it's nurturing, isn't it? And our innate reaction is to just love.
Yeah.
And then people become hard over the years because of circumstances, whether it's in their family, whether it's in their schooling, whether it's society, whether it's, they get caught up in the, the consumerism side of things, and the sabotage kicks in. So what we need to be remembering is when we are judging, and this triggers a lot of people, so just buckle up, people. Whenever I say to people, you know, if you are passing a judgment on somebody else, and that may be, God, I wouldn't wear those shoes, or why would you buy that color car? Any judgment like that, remember that's a reflection of you judging yourself. Everything that is happening in the universe is a mirror back. Like you said about your cat knows it's perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what the other cats think.
No.
It knows it's perfect. There is no competition. There is no comparison, because that cat knows it is anchoring something into this world that we need. And that's the beautiful thing about cats. They're so connected, like us humans. I know, and I didn't know this until, you know, like, so as I said earlier, I had burnout in 2013, 2014, went on a huge awakening journey. Before that, as a child, I knew that I was here on a mission. Then I shut myself down from about 10 to about 35. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting it. But it was, nah, I'm imagining it. Nah, that person over there is better. That person's prettier. You know, you still had those beliefs. Now I say, I know I'm here on a mission. I know I've got a huge message to deliver the world. And look at what we are capable of doing. Connecting with like-minded souls and really bringing this vibration together. I couldn't do that on my own, Catherine, and neither could you. And this is where this myth of competition, this myth of comparison, I have completely collapsed that in my life. Don't get me wrong. I will see a beautiful woman and be like, wow, you know, like, amazing. Or I will see a beautiful man and be like, oh my gosh, you know, and I can appreciate that. But it's not, oh God, I'm not pretty enough to have him, or, oh, she's much better than me. It's not like that anymore, because I've spent years of my life collapsing and recognizing what that feels like and where that insecurity has come from, because it is premised on everything that has gone on in our life or our past lives. But I'm not sure we'll go there.
I'll go down the next one, but I think everyone watching this is so on board with that anyway. And it's so wonderful, isn't it, when you can, and over the last sort of couple of years, anyone who's been watching sort of channels, people who talk about things that we are, it's been the same message: question everything, do your own research, question everything, do your own research. And I would say do your own work, because you know, there's a big difference between looking at someone and sort of appreciating their talent, their beauty, because everyone has got a different gift in this life, where it doesn't matter whether you're a cat, a human, a squirrel, you know, you're there to do your purpose, not someone else's purpose. And you've hit on something really important. You know, we couldn't do it on your own, and also we wouldn't want to do it on our own. We are a sociable species, and I don't want to do these things on my own. You know, in fact, one of the things I've learned over the last 2 years is I actually quite like humans. I didn't think I did. That's why I've always chosen to work with animals, because I just really didn't like humans. And actually, I've discovered through talking to amazing people over the last few years, there's some really nice ones. So,
isn't it a beautiful shift to recognize? And this is what's happening. We're finding our tribe. We're finding our people. Now, we're not going to be everybody's people. Like, people say to me all the time, do you ever see the negative in anything? And the answer is yes, I do. And I'm very blunt with people about those things. But I love people that feel like light. Yeah, I love people that can see the goodness, even through the atrocities that we've been through over the last 2 years. The people that have gone, I know we can get through this. Like that's my tribe, that's my people. And like, you know, it does take different people to come together. And, you know, there are many people that I've done videos with that we're completely different resonance, but we need each other to bring balance. And that's what's so important. We've been conditioned to think that you have to be a straight A student. You have to be really sporty. You have to be a good cook, or you have to be a something. When in reality, it's about recognizing who you are and who you're comfortable being and what's authentic to you.
Completely. And also that there is always I mean, it makes me laugh. Going back to the hip example, because it's such a big joke in our example, in our family. So my twin sister and I loved sport at school. We're completely different. I mean, we're the least identical twins you'll ever meet. We both love sports, but we were good at different things because physically we're very different. And my elder sister's always hated sport and never does it. And she's the only one whose hips aren't buggered because she hasn't overworked them, but I wouldn't change it for anything. So it's like laughing about these things and sort of saying every choice you make has a consequence. But when you recognize it's a choice and you make it consciously, then you don't care about the consequences. You know, I've got a really good friend that's very spiritually aware, and she said to me, we were driving, it was a couple of years ago now, we were driving down the road, and as you know, I absolutely adore animals, but I have to be careful that I don't fall into that energy of feeling sorry for them if you see something wrong with them. So there was this really old man walking down the road with a really old Labrador dog, and they were both, for their species, you know, probably on the same timeline. You know, one was probably in his 90s and the dog was at the end of his life, and they were both walking really slowly, hobbling down the road. And of course I saw the man, but I just focused on the dog, and the dog's quite lame. I was like, oh, poor dog. And I looked at it in terms of poor dog, and she looked at it because she was much more spiritually aware than me at the time. She said how lovely they are at that stage of life together.
Yeah. Oh, love it.
Same situation, completely different viewpoint. And you know, my 16-year-old lab, I mean, that's another discussion because 16 should not be old for a lab, but it is in our current reality. She's quite hobbly now, she's pretty good, but again, I still have to get really triggered because most people will sort of say, oh, how old is she, like this? And I'm thinking, why is that relevant? She's lovely. Because I've now moved into my friend's mindset where I think, how lovely, she's still having a really lovely time. She's just doing it at her pace rather than the pace she used to do it when she was 10 years old. But of course, I was there not very long ago saying what they were doing. It's fascinating, isn't it? Same situation, different perspective changes everything.
I love that you've just said that as well, Catherine, because I explain this to people quite a lot. When you made that judgment, we'll call it a judgment, back whenever that took place, you basically put it out into the universe that was going to loop back to you at some point, and look what happened now. And now you go, oh wow, that's really interesting. Now a lot of people won't recognize their growth in that, but for you, what a huge amount of growth.
Exactly.
It's amazing, and that needs to be celebrated. And so many people, and that comes when you love yourself, you're willing to celebrate that, and you're willing to share it and be vulnerable and all the other beautiful things. It's a very, very important part of it. Like, I give compliments to people, not over the top, but every day, whenever I'm out and about, I will, you know, compliment them on their dog, or compliment them on their shoes, or ask them where they got something, to engage with people and interact. And this is a real quick way to help people raise their levels of consciousness. And that's what we need to be doing right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's very important, you know. So the fact that you can go, wow, this person's just asked me about the age of my dog. And rather than think, you know, judge that person, go, oh my gosh, like, thank you for showing me how far I've come. That's a huge step forwards.
It is. And I can really laugh about it now. I mean, I did not used to be good at laughing at myself at all. And we were talking the other day about patience. You know, my friends used to say they'd put hurry up on my gravestone because I just love doing all the things I do in my life, and so I want to fit as much into every day as possible. And now I really appreciate the space, the gaps, the quiet time, the downtime, the time on my own for reflection and things. And we're meant to go through these different stages of growth. You know, if I was still behaving like I was when I was 18, it might be a bit odd, because you would have, I've, you know, learned a few lessons on the way. And it doesn't mean you need to act like an old woman, but you do go through your own growth cycle, don't you? And that's natural. And being able to laugh at it, I find, is quite healthy.
Yeah, and with the shifts that have been taking place on the planet, it's not just, you know, looking at looking at the lessons and things like that. It's actually those shifts up in consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's what's so important right now, because I actually did an Instagram live last evening, and a lady reached out to me before the live, and she was like, Lucy, I get it. I know I've got to choose to live in a space of love, but I just can't help myself. Like, I hear something, or I see something, or I read something, and I go to that space and I get really angry, upset, hurt, fearful, like whatever the emotion is that she was tapping into. And I spoke about it last night, and I do think that this is a really important message. If you are in a position, maybe if you're listening to Catherine's beautiful story that she's just shared, and you thought, oh God, I'd love to be at that place. I'd love to be at that place of not judging that person rather than getting a little bit annoyed about it. Ask yourself what it is that is bringing that up. There will be something in your life, whether it be listening to the radio or watching the TV or reading a book or something like that. It will be bringing that emotion into you. And remember, it is your choice to read that. Everything that we're doing, believe it or not, is a choice. You choose to wake up and be in a bad mood. You choose to have anxiety. And again, that will trigger a lot of people, but it's a truth. You choose it. And it's because there's no judgment with it. You're choosing it based on a set of circumstances and stories that have gone on in your life. Like I say, no judgment. You've been convinced and you've been indoctrinated to believe that it's not a choice. It's just something that happens to you. Okay, but when we actually get to the point and we recognize our heart is keeping us alive without us asking it to, you've got to start to think, well, if our heart is prepared to keep us alive without us asking to, if we can consciously make choices, if we literally just put it out there, I would like this and I would like that and I would like to be in this level of reality, you've got to ask yourself if that's actually what's going to happen. Because if you choose anxious thoughts and if you choose anxious feelings in your body, you are going to get more of that to validate that you are correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, so true.
And likewise, if you say, oh my gosh, the shit's really hitting the fan over there, and I really want to lose my stuff at it, but actually I'm going to drop into a space of love and I'm going to think, right, how can I work with this situation? Who do I need to involve in it? What do I need to do to really put love into that situation and just like quieten the flames down? And that's basically where I've come from and where I've got to, Catherine. I was very much like yourself, completely impatient. I was like a Tasmanian devil. I was so angry. I thought the world owed me something. And then over the years since 2014, I've dropped into this space of love. And no matter what happens, you know, I've had somebody drive into me in my car and I got out and I was like, are you okay? Right, I'm okay. Right, okay, let's sort it. And they were like, how can you not be angry? I've just literally driven straight into you. How can you not be angry? What's anger going to do?
Yeah.
It's just going to bring more of it back in. And this is where we have to be conscious right now, particularly in the times that we're living. We need to be aware of things. So when you get that gut crunching feeling in your body, okay, where is that coming from? Because it's not normally the incident you're going through. It's because of something that's happened in your past and you're bringing that memory forwards and you're making it much more dramatic. The way I like to say it to some of my clients is, you know, how many of you have been chatting to your husband about something, maybe leaving something on the floor, right? And all of a sudden you have this monstrous reaction. And you know it's not just about that one bit there. It's about lots and lots of other things that have built up. And this is where, if we can step into love and always just be very vulnerable with our communications and consciously choose, am I going to let this piece of underwear or piece of clothing on the floor, am I going to let that ruin my day? Like, is it really worth it? Or will I just move it? Or will I just sit down and have a conversation and just be like, babe, I really need you to support me right now. Like, I'm finding myself getting angry. I'm finding myself getting a little bit wound up with this situation. Like, what do we need to do so that you get that we don't do that? Or, you know, how are we going to work this? Because it might be that he then turns around to you and says something like, well, actually, babe, the fact that you always give the car back to me with no petrol in it, it's really annoying. Like, you've got the card, you can go there and fill it up. And this is where we get the balance. We recognize that we don't need to nitpick at each other. We are choosing to be angry because maybe your mum didn't like things being left on the floor or whatever. You know, we always bring it forwards. So for me right now, whenever we're recognizing anger or any of the lower vibration emotions, recognize it. be honest about it. Don't beat yourself up or judge yourself. Say, oh my gosh, I'm getting angry. Wow, where is this coming from? Right, what can I do to actually recognize where this is coming from, but also mitigate it and step into a space that is much more comfortable for all of us. I don't care who you are or where you've been or what you've done. Love is much more comfortable for all of us.
And we're going to need this a lot, because if some of the things, I mean, you and I have very much stepped away from talking about what's going on with the situation. And I feel like I needed to go through an education process, my education, to understand what was really happening in the world. And for me, I think I've been very lucky. I found that very easy to do, because instead of being horrified about a lot of things made sense about why I was feeling certain things about a certain situation. So for me, it was almost a relief to say I wasn't as mad as I thought I was, but everyone will be coming at that from a completely different place. But I think moving forward, if we're still stuck in retribution and blame and things like this, how on earth can we move forward to creating a different world? That's just going to take us right back to what we're criticizing, isn't it?
Exactly. And I love that you've just said that, Catherine, because it's a real resonant message at the moment. Is we are essentially these topics over here, we're allowed to like give it some, anger, and we're allowed to be passionate about it, but these topics over here we're not allowed to. And actually what we need to just be saying is, right, everybody is where they are.
Yeah,
everybody. I am going to be the beacon of light. I'm going to be the beacon of love, so that when people are ready for that, they know where to find me. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to make sure that I show up for people so they know how to find me. But I'm not going to go knocking on their door saying, hey, Catherine, I know that you're still getting angry, and I know that you're sharing this, and I know that you're doing that. You need to stop that. What's the point?
And also they have to go through their own journey, because they have got a completely different process to say that of what I need for me.
Exactly. And if only we could get this message out to the masses that says, just do you.
Yes. And that is so important, isn't it? Now, I could literally talk to you all day, but very conscious of people's times listening. Now, one of the things that I have discovered about you over the last few weeks is just the range of services you have available for people. And obviously all Lucy's links will be below the video as always, but I have to ask you about this because it's so important. Because what I was blown away with when I looked at your website and spoke to you about your offerings is you literally have got something for everyone. Because you hear, oh, I can't afford this, or haven't got the time for this, and you offer a fantastic range of people from where they are now, whether it's their time, their money, their awareness. I applaud you for that so much, because so many people make their stuff really inaccessible. So can you just tell us a bit about some of the things that you've got new courses that have launched, groups that people can join? Just give us a bit of an overview.
Thank you. So my passion, like, I'm so heart driven, and a bit like yourself, I've done a lot of work around the world in orphanages and different bits and pieces like that. So my end goal is to literally go to Africa and India and all the places where there are slums and stuff, give them all phones and laptops and give them my content for free. Like, that's the end goal. I would love to do that, because we all need to go on this journey of falling back in love with self and appreciating where we've come from. So my, excuse me, I don't know why my little chest keeps coming up today. So my cheapest course is a 5-day course. It's called the 5-Day Breakthrough, and it is £7.77. That's it. And what basically happens is, obviously it's a 5-day thing. So you get a video of myself talking you through, and then you get to I ask you to do some homework, and then the next day you get a new topic and some homework, and it is a huge breakthrough exercise. Now, I've had people message me going, why is it so cheap? What's the catch?
I know.
And I'm like, thank you for showing me where you're at with yourself. However, It's literally just something to help people get started. And it's a real taking people back to who they are and recognizing, you know, kind of what they've created for themselves and the reason they're living it. So that's my 5-day breakthrough, and that's £7.77. If you go to my website, there's links all over for it, but on the product page, everything is there. So another one of my courses is £97, and that is a 30-day course where, again, you get video content and you get homework and stuff. And if you do the process properly, your mindset will be completely different by the end of it. So they're kind of like the courses that you can do. I've also got a monthly membership, which is £11 a month, and it's very much around consciousness. So when all of this stuff started, I was being shadow banned. My Facebook account got deleted because I was doing a lot of work with the children and the trafficking of children. So, you know, that was basically my forum where people they pay £11 a month every Monday night. They come on a Zoom call with me, and I would share truths and I would share whatever and just kind of give people a little bit of comfort. But now what it is it's very much about consciousness. It's called Conscious Conversations, and it's essentially I get downloads or I get channeled messages and I share them, or I help people break through. Sometimes I do Q&A with people because they just got questions, you know, and this is people from all over the world that join, and it's so cheap. And if you can't make the calls on the Monday night, there's in my website, basically all the videos are there. So, you know, you can just access them all. And if you join today, you'll access the last, you know, 12, 14 months worth of calls. So there is something for everybody on there. On the other end, I've got a program that I just launched yesterday called Self-Love Mastery, which is very much around recognizing ego and how that can cause procrastination, you know, loops in relationships, or maybe if you lost weight but you always put the weight back on. Basically what we do is we go deep into your emotional trauma. We essentially remove that, or, you know, get you to work with it, because I'm not the person that thinks that you need to get rid of your ego. I'm very much awareness of it, learn how to work with it. You know, it should be your friend because it does serve you as well as hold you back. And then we obviously piece you back together, for want of better words, and put you on your way. And for the next 24 hours, actually, that course is out for £997. It will normally be for £1,497. And the way that works is basically you've got 8 weeks worth of content. You get it drip fed to you each week. You've got homework. You also have an hour's one-to-one with a coach every week. So it might be me, or it might be one of my team, but essentially you need to allocate about 3 hours a week for that. So it's quite a big commitment from a time perspective, but you will never be the same again. You will never be the same again. And my biggest program, if you like, is my 12-month Self-Love Club membership program. The doors open in June. On the 1st of June every year, we do a launch call, and then the doors are open for 72 hours only, and then that's it until the next year. And basically it is a collapsing and a rebuilding of everything you can possibly imagine. So we cover nutrition in there and the way that the physical body works. We look at ego, we look at relationships, you name it, it's all in there. And that's actually what I used to travel the world with. I used to break it down into a couple of hour seminar and take people through my 7-step process. But this course has been designed as a 12-month course to literally change people's lives, Catherine. So, but I've got loads of free stuff as well, just so you know. I've got a YouTube channel, I've got a Facebook group called Self-Love Club with Lucy Davis. It's really beautiful. If you love spirituality and consciousness, honestly, you will love that group. We do meditations in there, we do loads and loads of stuff. And I've also got a group on Telegram called Self-Love Club with Lucy Davis as well. So if you have no money, come and jump into the free stuff, you'll get loads of stuff. But also, if you can afford the £7.77, do it. Honestly, you will have a huge breakthrough. And then there's the other stuff there for people if they see fit.
Oh, it's just fantastic. I really loved it. And I was genuinely so impressed with the range of stuff, because, you know, you hear a lot of people saying, well, you know, I can't afford this, I can't do this. And I was like, right, you've got no excuses now, folks. You've got no excuses. You want to take your life on to the next level. start. Just start. I'm so want to have a conversation with you, another thing about ego, because it's such a misunderstood, I think, area. Thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
It's such a joy. I'm so loving connecting with such positive, passionate people. I'm going to be inviting on my friend Bryce from Esoteric Anandra, and I have got a series called Discover Your Passion series, and we would love to invite you on that as well.
I'd love to. Thank you. That's so kind of you. And Catherine, it's so good to connect with another one of the soul family. You know, it really is.
It's such fun, isn't it? And you know, I say this to all things, everyone on there, every single listener, like Lucy said, you're such an important part of the jigsaw puzzle. I'm always so impressed when I see people leave positive, uplifting energy in comments below. It's not that I'm looking for sort of praise. It's not about me. It's about supporting other members, because when you put that positivity out there, that's what you get back, isn't it, Lucy?
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good place to end. Remember, you're a mirror. Anything that somebody is giving to you, remember at some point you've given, or maybe it's something that you're giving yourself internally right now. Constantly think mirror with everything. It will change your life.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lucy. A wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. And thank you, anyone who's taken the time to watch this. We appreciate you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. Love you lots.
Bye.
Bye.